There comes a moment in life when you realize that the weight you carry is not the weight of the world itself, but the weight of your own resistance to it. You have been holding on so tightly, gripping every possibility, every outcome, as though life could only unfold if you forced it into place. But life is not a puzzle to be solved through strain. It is a river. And rivers don't move because you push them. They flow because they are meant to. You've been told all your life that to have something better you must fight harder, try more, and push beyond your limits. Yet here you are, exhausted, still waiting for that better life to appear. What if it's not waiting for your effort, but for your permission? What if the door has always been open, but you've been standing outside because you haven't said yes to walking through it? The better life is not somewhere far ahead in the distance. It is quietly resting at the edge of your decision, waiting for the moment you allow it to come in. Saying yes is not about reckless agreement to everything the world throws at you. It is a deeper surrender, an acknowledgement that life is already moving in your favor when you stop blocking its current. You see, the mind loves control. It thrives on knowing what comes next, on predicting outcomes, on building walls against uncertainty. But the soul is a traveler. It came here to experience the unknown, to meet life with curiosity, to dance with what it doesn't yet understand. And the only way to truly live is to give it that freedom, to allow yourself to step into a space where you don't know exactly what will happen, but you trust that it will be good. Every great change in your life has likely come from moments you couldn't plan. The people who changed your path, the opportunities that shifted your direction, the blessings you never saw coming. None of them arrived because you worried them into existence. They came when you were open enough to receive. That's the thing about a better life. It doesn't force itself into yours. It waits patiently for you to loosen your grip on the old one, to open your hands and to say, I'm ready. There's a strange beauty in realizing that nothing in this universe is truly against you. Even the hardships you've faced were shaping you, preparing you for more than you could have imagined. And now, after all the battles and the weariness, something in you is whispering that it's time, not to fight, not to chase, but to allow. That whisper is not your imagination. It is the gentle knock of the life you've been asking for, waiting for your yes. So here you are, standing at the threshold. Behind you is everything you've already lived. The struggles, the victories, the lessons. Ahead of you is a life that feels lighter, freer, more aligned with who you really are. But it will not drag you forward. It will not shout or demand. It will only wait, with the quiet certainty that when you finally breathe deeply, unclench your heart and open the door, you will see that it has been there all along. The truth is, the better life you have been seeking has never been absent. It has not been hiding somewhere far beyond your reach, nor has it been delayed by some cosmic cruelty. It is here, now, surrounding you in ways you might not even notice, woven quietly into the fabric of the present moment. But it does not force itself upon you. It does not kick down the door of your resistance. It waits. It waits for something far more subtle, far more powerful than all your effort and all your striving. It waits for your yes. We spend so much of our lives thinking that the key to a better future is in what we do, in how much we work, in the endless strategies we create to outmaneuver uncertainty. We are taught from the earliest days that nothing comes without a fight, that if we do not chase after it, we will be left behind. And so we live clenched in our muscles, in our thoughts, in the very core of our being, thinking that by holding everything tightly, we are protecting ourselves and ensuring our survival. Yet all the while, the better life we long for is not asking for more effort. It is asking for openness. It is asking for permission to enter. There is a strange paradox here. You can want something with your whole heart, yet keep it away from you because you don't actually allow it to arrive. Your words say you want it. Your mind imagines it. But your energy, the quiet signal you send into the world, still says, not yet. And why? Because part of you is afraid. Afraid that if you open the door, you might be disappointed. Afraid that what comes might require you to change in ways you don't yet feel ready for. Afraid that receiving means letting go of what has been familiar, even if that familiar thing has been painful. So you wait, thinking you are waiting for life to move, not realizing that life is waiting for you. To say yes is not merely to nod your head in agreement. It is an act of inner permission. It is a deep and quiet readiness that radiates from you without the need for words. When you say yes in this way, you align yourself with a current that has always been there, waiting to carry you forward. And the moment you step into that current, you see that what you thought was missing has been circling you all along, unable to enter only because you had locked the gate. This is why some people seem to attract opportunities without trying. It is not luck in the shallow sense. It is the openness they carry. They have already said yes to life. They are not fighting the river, not standing on the shore, demanding proof that the water is safe before they step in. They are already in the flow, allowing it to take them to places they could never have planned. And because of that, life delivers to them the very things others are still struggling to reach. Your better life is not an external object waiting to be picked up at the end of a long journey. It is a state of being. It is the peace that comes when you no longer fight every moment, when you no longer argue with reality, when you no longer insist that life show up exactly as you imagined. It is the ease that comes when you finally allow yourself to trust that what is meant for you will not pass you by, and that if it is not here yet, there is a reason, a timing that serves you better than your own plans could. Think about how much energy you have spent resisting the present moment. Think about how much of your life has been lived in tension, in waiting, in the endless mental rehearsals of how things should be. And now imagine what could happen if you released even a fraction of that tension. Imagine what might flow in if you stopped guarding yourself from the unknown and started welcoming it. That is what your yes does. It opens the door for life to surprise you. This yes is not a reckless surrender to anything and everything. It is not abandoning discernment or pretending that all things are good. It is the conscious decision to stop living from fear. It is the quiet turning of the heart that says, I am willing to see what life can be when I stop holding back. And when you say yes in that way, life hears you. Opportunities that once seemed distant start appearing. People who feel like missing pieces to your puzzle begin to cross your path. Doors that were sealed shut begin to move as if unlocked from the inside. It is not that the better life suddenly appears. It is that your vision clears enough to see it. It is that your energy shifts enough to align with it. The same world that once seemed cold and unyielding begins to feel alive with possibility. The same days that once felt repetitive begin to shimmer with a sense of unseen movement. It is not magic in the childish sense. It is the natural consequence of no longer standing in your own way. You may have thought that you needed to wait until you were stronger, wiser, more ready before you could live the life you want. But that is the trick of the mind, keeping you always in preparation and never in arrival. Readiness is not something that comes before you say yes. It is something that grows because you said yes. The better life waiting for you is not looking for a perfect version of you. It is looking for the version of you that is willing. In that willingness lies everything. It is the moment you stop trying to figure out how the river flows and simply step into it. It is the release of the illusion that you must control the tide. It is the understanding that your role is not to force life to bend to your will, but to meet it as an equal partner, to respond to its invitations with courage, to allow the dance instead of resisting it. And perhaps the most extraordinary thing about this is how quickly things change when you give that permission. What once seemed impossible starts to feel inevitable. The very atmosphere around you shifts. And though you may not see the full picture, yet you can feel that something has already begun to move, because it has. The moment you say yes, life begins to reorganize itself around your openness. The moment you stop closing the door with doubt and hesitation, the better life that has been patiently waiting steps forward, as though it has been standing right there all along, smiling, knowing that eventually you would let it in. Letting go of control is one of the most misunderstood invitations life offers us. We are conditioned to believe that control is safety, that if we can anticipate every outcome, plan every detail, and manage every possibility, we will be protected from loss, from failure, from pain. And so we tighten our grip, not realizing that in doing so, we are suffocating the very life we are trying to hold on to. The irony is that the more you try to control life, the more it slips through your fingers. Because life was never meant to be clenched. It was meant to be flowed with. When you live in control, you live in a constant state of tension. Every unexpected turn feels like a threat. Every delay feels like a punishment. You become exhausted. Not because life is cruel, but because you are trying to push against its natural movement. It's like standing in a river and demanding the water flow in the opposite direction, just to match your idea of how it should be. You may plant your feet firmly, you may fight with all your strength, but eventually the current will wear you down, because it has more patience than you do. You said letting go is not the same as giving up. It is not about passivity or doing nothing. It is about releasing the illusion that you must control every twist and turn for things to go well. It is about creating space for life to reveal something beyond what you've imagined. When you step back from control, you step into partnership with life. You begin to see that there is a rhythm unfolding around you that is far more intelligent than your constant worrying. Have you noticed how the most beautiful moments in life often happen without your planning? The chance meeting that changes everything, the unexpected opportunity that appears out of nowhere, the problem that seemed impossible to solve, but somehow works itself out in a way you never would have considered. These are not accidents. They are the natural result of life being given the freedom to move without your interference. When you are too busy managing every step, you leave no room for these surprises to arrive. But when you release your grip, the current carries you to places you didn't even know existed. Control is rooted in fear. It whispers to you that if you don't hold on tightly, everything will fall apart. It convinces you that the only way to be safe is to keep life on a short leash. But the truth is, control doesn't protect you. It imprisons you. It keeps you walking in circles inside the same small territory, never venturing into the vastness of what could be. Life, in its infinite patience, waits for you to trust it enough to let go, to step into a space where you don't know exactly what will happen, but you believe it will be good. And when you do, something remarkable happens. You begin to breathe differently. The tightness in your chest loosens. The world feels a little more open, a little less heavy. You start to notice things you were too tense to see before. The kindness in a stranger's eyes, the beauty of a quiet morning, the gentle ways in which solutions begin to form without your force. You begin to understand that life is not against you, and that it never was. It is only your resistance that made it seem that way. Think of a seed buried in the soil. It does not strain to grow. It does not demand to see the sun before it sends out roots. It simply yields to the process. It allows the earth to surround it, the rain to nourish it, the unseen forces of life to do their work. If it tried to control its own growth, to dictate the exact moment it should break through the surface, it would exhaust itself and likely wither before it even bloomed. You are no different. Your growth, your better life, your unfolding, it all depends on your willingness to allow the natural process to move without you constantly pulling at it. Letting go of control is not about abandoning your dreams or becoming indifferent to your future. It is about holding them lightly, knowing that life may have an even greater version than the one you imagined. It is about trusting that if something doesn't happen the way you planned, it's not a loss, it's a redirection. And in that redirection, something is always working in your favor. When you create space, life fills it. When you release your grip, life places something better in your open hands. And when you finally stop trying to force the river, you find that it has been carrying you all along, carrying you toward experiences, people, and opportunities that feel effortless, not because they are easy, but because they are aligned. This is the freedom you step into when you let go. This is the space where the better life waiting for you can finally reach you. And here's the beautiful part. Once you taste that freedom, once you feel the weight lift from your shoulders, you begin to see that control was never real in the first place. You are never in charge of every detail. You are only in charge of your openness, your willingness to trust, your capacity to say, I don't need to know every step to take the next one. In that space, life moves quickly, gracefully, and often more beautifully than you dared to hope. Your yes is not about agreeing to more struggle, more endless climbing, or more proving yourself worthy. It is not the yes of burden, it is the yes of trust. It is the yes that says, I am willing to believe that life can be kinder than I have known. I am willing to open the door without knowing exactly what waits on the other side. That kind of yes is not loud. It does not need to be shouted from the rooftop. It is quiet, steady, and deep. And because of that, it carries more power than any forceful declaration you've ever made. For most of your life, you've been trained to associate yes with obligation. Saying yes meant committing to hard work, taking on responsibilities, or giving in to someone else's demands. And so the idea of saying yes to life itself can feel overwhelming, as though it will demand more of the same effort that has already exhausted you. But this yes is different. This is not the yes that says, I will take on more. It is the yes that says, I will stop resisting. It is the yes of release, the yes of allowing life to support you instead of believing you must carry it alone. It's strange how we convince ourselves that everything must be earned through strain. We believe joy must be paid for with years of toil, that peace is a reward for a lifetime of endurance, that love only comes to those who have suffered enough to deserve it. This is the lie of the world we've built, a lie that keeps us locked in cycles of exhaustion. The truth is, life's best offerings are not earned through struggle. They are received through openness. The ocean does not ask you to prove yourself before it will let you float. The sky does not demand qualifications before it lets you breathe its air. And the better life waiting for you is no different. It only asks for your willingness to receive it. Your yes is the bridge between longing and living. Without it, you can spend years dreaming of a different life, imagining what could be, feeling the ache of wanting more, but never stepping into it. This yes is the moment when you move from imagining to inhabiting. It's the point at which you stop standing outside the door, thinking about what might be inside, and finally turn the handle to walk in. And the moment you do, you realize the room has been ready for you all along. Yes feels vulnerable. To say yes is to surrender control, to admit that you are willing to trust something larger than yourself. And in a world where trust has been broken, where your openness has sometimes been met with disappointment, this can feel dangerous. But remember this: life is not the same as the people who have let you down. The universe is not the same as the hands that have dropped you. You may have been hurt by human choices, but the flow of life itself has always carried you here, to this moment, where the possibility of more is still alive. When you say yes in this way, the very texture of your days begins to change. It is not that you no longer have challenges, but they no longer feel like endless battles. You start to sense a rhythm, a timing, a way in which things seem to align without your constant pushing. You notice doors opening where you once saw only walls. You find yourself meeting people who seem to arrive at exactly the right moment. And most of all, you begin to feel supported, not in a vague, abstract way, but in the tangible unfolding of your circumstances. Saying yes is like loosening the knots in a rope that has been pulling against you for years. The moment you release them, the tension eases, and the rope becomes something you can work with, something that moves with you instead of against you. You start to realize that so much of your struggle was not about life denying you, but about you unknowingly resisting it. You were fighting the very current that wanted to carry you to where you wanted to go. This yes is not an act of naivety. It does not mean you ignore the realities of the world or abandon your discernment. It means you stop assuming the worst. It means you stop meeting every opportunity with suspicion, every new chapter with fear. It means you allow the possibility that things might actually work out for you, not because you've earned them. When you live with this yes, even your smallest actions carry a different energy. You walk with more ease. You speak with more kindness. You notice beauty where before you only saw obstacles. Life starts to feel less like something you must conquer and more like something you are in relationship with. A relationship where both sides give and both sides receive. You no longer treat life as an opponent to outwit, but as a partner whose wisdom you can lean on. And here's what's remarkable. Once you truly say yes, life seems to echo it back to you. Opportunities show up, not because they weren't there before, but because now you can see them. Blessings arrive, not because they suddenly exist, but because you are finally standing in the space where they can reach you. Your yes has tuned you to a different frequency, and on that frequency, the better life you've been waiting for is already playing. Opportunities and blessings have a rhythm of their own, a timing that does not always match the clock you live by. They move like the tide, rising and falling, arriving and retreating, guided by patterns older and wiser than your own urgency. When you stop resisting, when you loosen your grip and allow yourself to stand in that rhythm, you begin to see that what you've been waiting for is not being withheld. It's simply arriving in its right season. And more often than not, it shows up in ways you never could have designed yourself. The strange thing about life's greatest gifts is that they rarely come when you are tense and hunting for them. They often arrive when you are doing something ordinary, when your mind has softened, when you are not forcing the moment to deliver what you think you need. This is because blessings need space to land and opportunities need room to breathe. When you are constantly pushing, constantly gripping the steering wheel of your life, you leave no opening for the unexpected to step in. But when you release, when you stop filling every second with your own plans and fears, life finds a way to slip its gifts into your hands. It's easy to believe that if something hasn't come yet, it means it never will. But this is the illusion created by impatience. There are roots growing in the soil long before you see the first leaf. There are seeds lying dormant, gathering strength, preparing for their moment. If you dig them up every day to check their progress, you only slow their growth. Opportunities work in the same way. They are often forming beneath the surface, hidden from your sight, but moving toward you nonetheless. They are often forming beneath the surface, hidden from your sight, but moving toward you nonetheless. Your task is not to dig them up prematurely. Your task is to create the inner readiness to receive them when they finally break through the surface. When you stop resisting, you become more sensitive to the subtle openings life presents you. It could be a conversation that leads somewhere unexpected, a moment of inspiration that sparks an idea, or a small decision that opens a much larger door. You start to notice the way events line up, not perfectly in the way your mind would script them, but perfectly in the way your soul needs them. This is the art of receiving, to be present enough to recognize the door when it opens, and to be willing enough to walk through it, even if you don't know what lies on the other side. And here is something that is rarely spoken of. Sometimes the blessings you receive are not the ones you thought you wanted. Sometimes they arrive disguised as endings, changes, or even losses. They may not look like gifts in the moment, but as they unfold, you see that they cleared the way for something greater. that job you didn't get, the relationship that didn't last, the plan that didn't work. These can be blessings in disguise, creating space for something more aligned, more nourishing, more in tune with who you are becoming. Without the release, those blessings would have had no room to enter. Opportunities, too, are often misunderstood. People think of them only as big, obvious events, a sudden windfall, a life-changing offer, a door swinging wide open. But more often opportunities are quiet invitations. They may appear as a small nudge to try something new, a subtle chance to speak up, an idea that keeps returning to you in the quiet moments. When you are resisting, you miss them because you are too focused on the grand arrival you've been imagining. When you are open, you see that the small step offered today could lead to the transformation you've been longing for tomorrow. The energy you carry shapes the opportunities you attract. If you are guarded, afraid, or convinced that nothing good ever comes your way, you filter out the very possibilities that could prove you wrong. But when you move through life with an openness, a willingness to believe that good things are possible, you begin to meet life halfway. You stop slamming the door on what you don't recognize immediately. You allow the unfamiliar to introduce itself. You trust that if something comes into your path, there is at least the potential for it to lead somewhere meaningful. Receiving is not a passive act. It's an active state of readiness. It is the willingness to clear away the clutter both within and around you so that there is space for something new to arrive. It is saying, I will keep my hands open, even if they have been empty for a while. It is trusting that the timing of life is not working against you, but preparing you for the exact moment when the blessing or opportunity will matter most. And when that moment comes, it often feels like it was inevitable, as though it was always meant to find you, and you were always meant to say yes. When you live in this way, you stop chasing. You stop begging life to move faster. You start to notice the quiet ways in which life is already delivering to you, sometimes in whispers, sometimes in echoes, sometimes in gifts so small you might have overlooked them before. You understand that blessings are not only the big dramatic events, they are the moments of peace after a storm, the unexpected kindness of a stranger, the clarity that arrives in your mind without warning. Each of these is a piece of the better life that is slowly unfolding. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all is that when you stop resisting, you realize that life has always been trying to give to you. Even in the seasons when it felt like nothing was working, there were things happening beneath the surface, aligning, preparing, positioning you for what was to come. The delays were not denials. They were the shaping of the vessel that would be able to hold what you were asking for. The waiting was not empty. It was the weaving of the perfect moment. Life changes the moment you decide to step beyond fear and into faith in the unknown. For as long as you have been alive, fear has whispered to you in 1,000 different ways, telling you to stay where it's safe, to cling to the familiar, to avoid the unpredictable. Fear wears many disguises: logic, caution, even responsibility. It can make its voice sound like wisdom, but beneath the surface it is simply the desire to protect you from what it cannot predict. And yet, everything you've ever truly longed for lives on the other side of that invisible line fear draws. The unknown is not the enemy. It is the birthplace of every possibility you have ever dreamed of. Everything you now call familiar was once unknown to you. The people you now love, the skills you now have, the experiences you now treasure, they all came from moments when you stepped into something you didn't fully understand. And if you look closely, you will see that the greatest turning points in your life happened when you chose not to let fear make the final decision. Fear always paints the unknown as a void, an empty space where anything could go wrong. But faith sees that same space as fertile ground, alive with potential, ready to grow things you cannot yet imagine. Faith is not blind. It is simply willing to see beyond the limits of your current knowledge. It says, I don't need to know every step to take the first one. That clarity is a gift of movement, not of standing still. The reason the better life is waiting for your yes is because it can only exist in the space where faith leads. If you wait for certainty before moving, you will wait forever. The path only appears when you begin to walk it. This is why stepping beyond fear is so powerful. It is the act of choosing trust over control, of valuing growth over comfort. You stop asking for proof before you leap and start understanding that the leap is the proof, that something in you is ready, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. There is a particular kind of courage in saying yes to what you cannot fully see. It is not the courage of someone who charges into battle without thought. It is the quieter, deeper courage of someone who has learned that life has a rhythm, and that stepping into the unknown is not a gamble, but an alignment. You are not throwing yourself into chaos. You are allowing yourself to be moved toward what has been waiting for you all along. Fear will tell you to cling to what you have, even if it is too small for you now. It will remind you of every failure, every disappointment, every time you took a risk and didn't get what you hoped for. But faith will remind you that those moments were not endings, they were beginnings in disguise. Faith will point to the times you thought you had lost, only to find later that you had been redirected towards something better. Faith will whisper that life is not trying to punish you, but to prepare you. So stepping beyond fear does not mean you stop feeling it. Fear may still rise in your chest when you stand at the edge of something new. Your hands may still tremble. Your mind may still race with doubts. But faith is the decision to move forward anyway, not recklessly, but with trust. It is the quiet conviction that the unknown is not empty, but full. That even if you cannot see the whole staircase, the next step will be there when your foot comes down. This is the moment when life begins to transform, not because the outside world has suddenly changed, but because you have. You are no longer waiting for the perfect conditions before you live. You are no longer demanding a guarantee before you try. You are no longer letting fear disguise itself as reason. And as soon as you shift in this way, the world around you starts to respond. Opportunities that once passed you by now stop at your door. People who resonate with your courage begin to cross your path. Situations that used to intimidate you now feel like invitation. The truth is, life will never stop inviting you into the unknown. Every season will bring new thresholds to cross. Some will be small, quiet moments that ask you to speak your truth, to take a chance, to trust yourself. Others will be larger, life-altering choices that change the direction of your entire path. But in each case, the principle is the same. The better life will only meet you if you are willing to meet it halfway. And halfway is always across the line of fear into the space where faith takes over. Once you experience what happens when you choose faith over fear, it becomes easier to do it again. You begin to see the unknown not as a threat but as an ally. You realize that uncertainty is simply the space where life has room to create something new. You no longer cling so tightly to old versions of yourself, old routines, old expectations. You allow yourself to evolve, knowing that growth requires change, and change requires stepping into what you have not yet known. And perhaps the most liberating realization is this: the unknown is not waiting to harm you. It is waiting to surprise you. It holds the conversations that will change you, the moments that will heal you, the paths that will lead you to the places you've been asking to go. It is the canvas on which the better life paints itself. But the first stroke can only happen when you place yourself there, willing and open, saying yes, even when you do not see the whole picture.